Today we're going to do some special equations and we're going to start with some squared quantities. Hopefully, when you see x squared equals 36, all of you immediately think x is 6. But double, hopefully, you all think, but wait, there's a second answer because it can be either positive or negative. Hopefully, you all remembered that. If it gets a little harder, you have the same approach. You know that this quantity, when you square it, has to be 6 or negative 6. So you have to think about what makes the inside of those parentheses 6 and what makes the inside of those parentheses negative 6. So your two solutions are 5 and negative 7. If you plug them back in there, they make sense. 5 plus 1 gets you to 6. 6 squared is 36. You plug in a negative 7, you add 1, you get negative 6. You square it, you get 36. So hopefully that makes sense. So go ahead and try this one. It's a little harder because there's an extra step, but just like in regular solving of equations, you are now isolating the squared quantity, and you are going to start by getting rid of the coefficient of 5 by dividing both sides by 5. So go ahead and pause your video, answer that question, and then come back and see if you got it right. So hopefully you got answers of -1 and -5. If you didn't, pause your video again so you can look through my work and see where you went astray. The next topic we're going to do is absolute value. Hopefully you remember from last year that absolute value is describing the distance between some numbers. So the answer can never be a negative number because distance can't be negative. So just like with that squared quantity, we have, I don't know why my pen keeps disappearing. That's never happened before. You have your two solutions because the absolute value of 5, if you just think about a number line, 5 is 5 spots away from 0. And -5 is also 5 spots away from 0. Why am I saying from 0? Well, there's only one term inside this absolute value. And so it's describing the distance from 0. It's kind of like this. How far apart are x and 0? And that's why we don't see the other number there. So again, we're going to go to that second step just like we did before. I know the inside of this has to be 5 or -5 because we just talked about that. And I need to figure out what makes x minus 1 into 5 or what makes x minus 1 into a -5. And when I solve those equations, I get 6 and -4. And if you're more of a visual person and you like to see what that means in terms of distance, instead of the 0 from this equation, it's now how far apart are x and 1. So I'm going to put my 1 here. 6 is 5 spots away from 1, and -4 is 5 spots away from 1. So if you can think of that visual representation, you won't forget that second answer, which sometimes happens, that you forget there's a second solution. And if this just doesn't resonate with you, the algebra is always a great backup. So go ahead and try and solve that one. Pause your video, then come back and see if you got it right. Ah! Did you get NRS? Did you realize that when you divided, when you divided by 2, you ended up with the absolute value of something being a negative number, and that is not allowed. Hopefully you didn't get tricked. Hopefully you caught on to that little trick. And our last topic is going to be square roots. This is only going to have one solution because square roots, the inside of a square root can't be negative. So I don't have to think about what else could be inside there. I shouldn't have said there's only one solution. If there's a squared in there, it could be a second solution. But the actual number, the final answer inside of a square, it has to be a positive number. So I can think about squaring both sides. That's one strategy for what number can you take the square root of to get to 5. And hopefully you came up with x could be 25. And so again, I just take the one level harder of that question. What would make the inside of this turn into a 25 so that I can take the square root of it and get to 5? What would make x plus 4 turn into 25? and you would get x is 21. And if you plug it back in, you see 21 plus 4 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5, and you know you got it right. So go ahead and try this one question. Pause your video, do it, and then let's see if you got it right. So what I was saying before is you could have a second solution, but the final number inside here, with my disappearing pen, inside here has to be a positive number in the end. So you knew that you wanted the entire inside to become a 16 so that when you take the square root of it, you end up with 4. So I write my equation, I got to 25, and then here you see, oh wait, there are something squareds equaling a positive number. You should end up with 2 solutions. So hopefully those 3 topics, you did a little bit of it last year. Some of it should be a refresher, but some of the homework questions tonight are going to be a little tougher, and you're going to have to dig a little deeper to see if you can come up with some solutions. So good luck with your homework tonight. We'll go over it in class tomorrow.